essential Yirah, Yirah Shorshit, as the Slonimer is teaching, and from that, don't get stuck there, and don't let Yirah ossify and become fear. So the love can extend, and the divine path can extend with joy, l'chaim, with life. For those of us who are interested in spiritual development, this is one of those crucial statements in the Torah that directs us towards claiming the felt experience of spirituality, of connection with the divine. ואתה ישראל, מה אדוני אלוהיך שואל מעמך? What is Adonai your God asking of you, other than ki im le'ir'a et Adonai Elohecha, other than being at awe of Adonai your God, lelechet b'chol drachav, to follow all of the ways of the divine, v'la'ava oto, and to love the divine, v'la'avod et Adonai Elohecha, and to be at service to Adonai your God, b'chol levavcha, with all of your heart, u'v'chol nafshecha, and with all of your being. Or some would translate your soul, your spirit. I'd like to translate all of your being. Not much. What is God asking from you, really? Only to be in awe, only to follow on the divine, walk on the divine path, to love the divine, have a love relationship with the divine, to be at service to the divine with all your heart and with all your being. That's all. So there's something about the sentence that is, that's endearing. There's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. Both in terms of substance and also structurally. Why is it presented that way? And why is it presented that way? What is it? What is the Torah hinting to us here about the possibility of a relationship between a person, you and I, and the whole, and the divine, the supreme consciousness? And that's what the Slonimer is going to zoom in on, but specifically zooming in on le'ir'a et Adonai Elohecha. The first thing mentioned is to be at awe of Adonai your God. Now, Yirah as a term is a word that is often misunderstood and also misrepresented, mistranslated. A lot of people translate Yirah as fear. Other people translate Yirah as reverence. Other people translate Yirah as awe. And we will unpack that a little bit here with the help of the Rebbe. So let's jump right in. Al pi ha'oleh midivrei mefarshim, as we receive from the words of the many commentators, apasuk hazeh hu etzah. This verse is an instruction, advice, shakadosh baruch hu noten liyehudi, that the Holy One is giving here to a Jew, to a person, ech yikanes b'sharei avodat Hashem, how to enter the gates of divine service, or what we would call spiritual practice or spiritual life. And indeed, so we'll go a little further here. ראשית כל תיקחו עצמכם למידת היראה. And what is the core of this advice? First of all, start with the energy, with the trait, the quality of Yir'a, of awe. Right now I'm going to translate Yir'a as awe, but later on I'm going to switch to reverence. And so just giving us a little bit of heads up. But awe is a good enough and conventional enough term. I want to use that right now as as the basis. So again, start everything with the quality of awe. ומזה תבוא אחר כך ממילא ללכת בכל דרכיו ולאהבה אותו. And from there, naturally, what will extend is then you will follow in the divine path, you will have a love relationship with the divine, and you will serve the divine with all your with all your heart and with all your spirit. So he's setting up a certain dynamic that Yir'a, awe, is critical, and from Yir'a, then all the rest naturally extends, which is kind of interesting because that first step, the Yir'a, the awe, is the big challenge. If I could only bring myself to true awe of the divine, then the Slonimer suggests that everything else will just naturally flow from there. מידת היראה היא המפתח לכל השערים וממנה מגיעים לכל המדרגות. The quality of awe is the key to all of the gates, and the gates into spiritual work, or spiritual life. And from there, once we walk through that gate, then we can reach all the different spiritual levels that are available in our spiritual development. וכמאמר הכתוב, ראשית חוכמה יראת השם. And as it is written, the first step to wisdom is the awe of God. ראשית חוכמה יראת השם. First step to wisdom is the awe of the divine. מידת היראה היא הראשית לכל העניינים. Thus, the midah, the quality, the energy of awe is the beginning, the first step for everything else. So far we've established this process, which is fairly easy to see in the verse because that's how it's laid out, right? Yirah first, everything else extends, and the Slonimer here shows that this is a principle, a guiding principle in basically in all things spiritual, and perhaps also things ethical and emotional and in relationships. We could expand that, but right now let's focus in the realm of spiritual development. And it gets more interesting from here. Here we go. יש לומר על פי מה שכתב הפרי הארץ בענייננו. And we can learn, let us consider what the Pri Haaretz, which is a Hasidic text, what he said about this matter. שמבאר דברי הזוהר הקדוש, when he is commenting on the words of the Zohar, that says, Man de'it be'ira, leit be'choser klal. The one who has awe of the divine is lacking of nothing at all. So here the Pri Haaretz is telling us not only that with Yirah, everything else in spiritual development extends from there, but actually you're missing nothing. Let's see what he means. Shakavana li'at Adonai Hashorshit, Shehi Yirat Adonai L'chaim. Very interesting qualification, which means that what kind of Yirah? He's going to qualify that. Yirat Hashem Hashorshit, the essential Yirah, the essential awe. Shehi Yirat Adonai L'chaim, which is the awe of God to life. Which, and he continues, Akodemet L'chol Briat Ha'olamot, which precedes the creation of all the worlds. So even God, when God created all worlds out of nothing, the first thing created, the first thing that was there, was this essential awe to life. Asher Yazo Mevi'al Dvikut Be'Adonai. And thus, this kind of awe, this kind of essential awe, brings a person to attachment to the divine attachment, which, by the way, was a very strong principle in the spiritual practices and teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. This bringing oneself to a place, a state of mind where I am cleaved, I'm immersed, I melt into the divine mind, and I become one. And that is the Yichud, the Baal Shem Tov practice and taught. Hefech kol sh'ar b'chinat Yirah she'em he'ader advekut. But, and this is very interesting, I think you'll appreciate the Slonimer's candid, honest contemplation here, that the opposite of all the other types of awe, types of Yirah, actually block divine attachment. They're actually an obstacle. Shafilu Yirat HaRomemut, that even the awe of God's grandeur, meaning that one is at awe of God, who is the sovereign and the ruler and the principle and the root of all of creation. Boy, if that realization doesn't bring you to awe, that does not bring a person to divine attachment. Now, you need to hear this, meaning it's an obstacle. So even the awe of the grandeur of God is an obstacle to true connection. Because any sense of awe, and by the way, as I mentioned before, the word Yirah is also, at its very base, which is a mistake, but its very base is considered fear. I think what he's telling us here is acknowledging that any spirituality that derives from fear, that is practiced out of fear, is counterproductive. Because the minute I put myself in a place of fear, I disconnect. And this is a very important point. I really like to, I can't emphasize that enough, because it touches on one of the biggest pitfalls of religion, of conventional religion, and I'm talking about Jewish religion. Naturally, Catholics experience that in their own way, and other religions experience that in their own way. Any kind of fear-based religion, any kind of fear-based spiritual teaching is actually an obstacle to a connection to God. And that is the danger and the real failure of fundamentalism. And the Slonimer here is admitting that, he's acknowledging that, and he's saying that when we talk about Yirah, there's a certain flavor, a certain quality of Yirah, which is only that is the awe, and here's where I like to actually shift from calling Yirah awe, but actually going to reverence. The essential reverence is called, he calls it not Yir'a, but Yir'a lechaim, Yir'a for life. And that opens up a life flow, a living flow. A person who has Yir'a in the sense of all the other levels of Yir'a, which is not essential, that person cannot attach to the divine, because in a place where there's fear, there is no divine attachment. Which is not the case with the reverence for God for life. That is the higher level of true divine attachment. והיינו שמעלת היראה השורשית היא שמביאה את האדם להתבטלות גמורה אליו יתברך. It is the core reverence, the essential reverence, essential Yirah, that brings a person to complete annulment of the self, complete immersion and attachment to the divine. מתוך שמתבונן כי הוא עצמו אינו כלום וכל מציאותו היא מהכוח העליון, because a person mitbonen is contemplating and realizing, right, that I by myself, without my connection, to my divine source, who am I? I'm a cadabra. You and I, without the constant, the spiritual umbilical cord, the connection to the all, to the divine, I'm just a piece of clay. It's also good, it's good contemplation as we're preparing for the high holidays, Afal ve'efil, right? So, but from this place of reverence, that kind of puts my sense of self into perspective, and really minimizes it, and I get to see, we get to see ourselves. It's really just an extension of the divine reality, the divine being, divine consciousness. And from this kind of perspective, one can come to complete attachment to that yichud that Baal Shem Tov was teaching. And here he's coming back to the pasuk in the Zohar that says the one who has reverence does not lack anything. Because when one is truly plugged in, one is in the flow, with the divine flow, one can really attain anything and achieve anything and have anything. It almost sounds like prosperity theology. I'm not into prosperity theology, but it certainly sounds like it. And this is where a person starts, lives in that magical realm where everything is possible, any miracles and anything, things just happen and come your way with very little effort. That's a little bit spiritual anatomy and a little bit of deeper understanding of the concept of Yirah, which is mistakenly translated often as fear. I just had a conversation with a new friend yesterday, a woman who grew up in a very orthodox, very strictly observant and fundamentalist family and community. And she told me about it. And I tell you, I empathize and I hurt with her and for her. She told me about the fear-based Torah teaching that she was, brought up with, and it was, do and don't, do and don't, and God forbid you don't. It's this big Yirah, this big fear, right? Yirat Achet, Yirat Hashem. So there's a community, and there's a lot of communities like that. We all know, where the side of Yirah is so overly emphasized, but the next step to ahava is not cultivated enough. So may we all be blessed to cultivate Yirah, essential Yirah, Yir'a shorshit, as the Slonimer is teaching, and from that, don't get stuck there, and don't let Yirah ossify and become fear. So the love can extend, and the divine path can extend with joy, l'chaim, with life, and that is, that is a deep insight of Ata Yisrael Ma Adonai Elohecha shoel mimcha, and what is it that the divine is asking of me, of you, of me? What is the ask? The ask is not for be a slave, all haTorah, all the mitzvot, sweat it out and be a good soldier. No. Kim li'ir'a et Hashem Elohecha, to have essential awe, essential reverence, plain, simple, serious, insightful, respectful reverence, and seeing. Yirah is from the shosh of ro'eh, of seeing. Open one's eyes and see that I am not a disconnected, isolated John Wayne, sole writer, a master of my own universe. I'm just a master of my destiny as I recognize and connect to the source. So we can come to the rung of finding the place of love, where our connection to the divine after the next step, after Yirah, is this love, this open heart place, where we receive and we give love to everybody and everything, because Hashem is in everybody and everything. Imagine that place. And to dedicate my life to the service of the purpose for which I've been granted the privilege of being in life, right? So I'm serving a greater power through my awareness of the connection to where I come from where that purpose has come from. Which I'm going to say with lots of passion, with fullness. May we so be blessed. And for now, shalom. Thank you for joining us here for this lesson. Until next time. Please subscribe by clicking the red button below. Like, share, comment. It is great to have you here. See you later.